of the aspects which is being discussed by Nirmala Sitharaman, which she has put it in her budget speech. So right now, um, I was just before coming to this session, I was wondering that from where I will start my topic is. If you see the economic times, and if you open they would say that the Times of India, or you say that Hindustan Times, a prominent newspaper, this time they remain very silent. Otherwise, I have been seeing this budget for the last 28 years in my life. Either a hue and cry will be made by the oppositions whenever the budget is being prepared. But nonetheless, today also, when I was going through that, I was just looking into it. Is there any hue and cry is being made? Yes. The oppositions got together and they said that this is a zero sum budget. And what is saying that Congress president also said that this thing, that is, this is a budget which is not used to an say individual, or an say that to the businessman or to the corporate. Like this is so many comment, very small comment is being given by the oppositions. But as right now, Sonia ji has said that budget is an say economic growth budget. Let me tell you from over here. I want to catch from this particular place. I want to tell you that budget 2022 is focused on digital and technology, because it is concentrating on the sector like infrastructure, health, education, and provision of e-services to the masses. As Professor Vikas Gupta has said that union budget laid a foundations and a blueprint on the economy over Amrit Kal for next to 25 years. Why the Amrit Kal has been used by the Sitharaman, that's what we have to see. Because India has posted 9.2% of GDP growth, the highest among all the economies. Now, as we know that we are in the midst of Omicron waves, the speed of our vaccination campaign has helped them dramatically. The FM also said that Sabka Prayas will continue with a strong growth. Budget 2022 has provided a sharp increase in the public investment, capital expenditure provisions, and strategic transfer, that is of ownership of an Air India, has also got completed during this period, which is a very massive, what do you say that, massive turnover in the airline industry that has taken place. What it all shows, are we not in the growth of a path of, what do you say that, our growth rate is not increasing? Why the Congress government is using such a term called as an say zero sum budget? Now, on this note, I want to first tell you about direct tax, that is on to say that income tax. Let me tell you, taxpayers, a new provision is introduced to allow the taxpayer to update the past return and include omitted income by the additional tax payment. The updated return can be filed within 2 years from the end of the relevant assessment year. If you have missed up something, or if you have failed to omit some income, on which the additional tax is to be paid. The government said that you pay within the 2 years, we will not charge you any interest on this. That is a benefit is now given to an say that the people holding a say black money. And the second thing is that the tax incentive period is extended by 1 year for the startup. As Professor Vikas Gupta has said, growth, early growth, and start something. He was using those two calculations together. Okay, now this, what do you say that the startup, the tax incentive is been incentive for the period is extended 1 year for the startup. Eligible startup incorporated under Section 80 IAC will now get a benefit until 31st March 2023. And another thing is that corporate surcharge is to be reduced from 12 to 7%. That means it shows it is a business oriented budget. Apart from that, the government also has said that alternate minimum tax is to be reduced to 15% for cooperative societies. It means what? It means the government is going to look after the skill development. How far the skill development is, we are going to increase ourselves. Another thing, income transferred of digital assets such as crypto to be taxed 30%. No deductions will be allowed except the cost of acquisitions of a digital assets. Loss on sale of a digital asset cannot be set off against any other income. And the TDS 1% will be levied above the threshold. Gifting of the digital asset will also be taxed in the hands of the receiver. That means what this statement shows, to me it looks like government doesn't want to promote cryptocurrency because it is playing a very important role in the economy. Sorry, I'm really sorry. That is I will call it that the cryptocurrency, which is playing a very important role in the US economy as well as in the European countries, many places. But right now, they are expecting that it will also dominate, the cryptocurrency may dominate in Indian economy also. So that is the reason all this stringent measurement has been introduced so that to discourage the investment in the crypto. Because it has become a quite hype in the market. Now everyone is looking for a crypto investment. So to bring the parity, another thing is that to bring the parity between central and the state government employee, the finance ministry proposes to increase the threshold of employer contribution to the national pension scheme tier 1 account from 10% to 14%. Okay, and there is another deduction is also given by the government for the parents and the guardians of differently abled can get a deduction on the payment of annuity or lump sum during the lifetime of the parent or the guardian once the parent or the guardian has attained the 60 years. That is a limit they have fixed for that. Now, what is the amount of deductions? Any amount that has been spent on them will be taken as a whatever the lump sum it's been spent on that parents or guardian who have attained the age of the 60 will be taken as one of the deductions over there. And any surcharge or cess levied on the income are not allowed as a business expenditure. Now, there is a provision has been made that the brought forward loss cannot be set off against the undisclosed income deducted during any survey or a search. Because let me tell you one thing, many of the, I will not name the bank or I will not name the person over here is, when undisclosed income was detected, the brought forward loss also they wanted to be adjusted along with that thing is. That time this provision was not given in the direct tax. So the government had to look into it, how this brought forward loss can be adjusted. So therefore, this time in this current budget, this provision was introduced. Now coming to the say that indirect tax. If you're most familiar with, say, so many sections and what do you call it, provision that has been made in the GST and custom, you will love to hear this so many changes that has been made in the GST and customs. Let me tell you about the important amendments to CGST in section 16, 34, 37, 39 and 52. In that, the last date to make amendments, corrections, upload missed sale invoice or notes, or to claim any missed input tax credit, or I will say that ITC of one financial year is no longer due date to file the September return of the following year, but it is now is taken as a 30th number of the following year. So that extension period has been given by the government. And under section 29 of the CGST is amended for cancellations of a GSTIN by the officers. Here it has been said, if any SSC, if he pays a composition tax, he's under the composition tax and failed to file an annual return for 3 months beyond the due date of a 30th April of the following year, his registrations will get cancelled. Likewise, for any other taxpayer, the 6 months consecutive default in returning filing is replaced with a consecutive tax period default as may be prescribed. If I tell you about all these direct unless and until you have done the GST part, then you will understand that what are the benefit that is being given to these people. I will tell you in one simple thing. Nirmala Sitharaman has also said to Parliament that record collection of 1,40,986 crore, the gross GST revenue in January 2022 was the highest since GST inceptions. Okay, and concession custom duty on import of capital goods is to be phased out. The initial rate of 7.5 to be imposed. More than 350 exemptions on importing some agriculture product, chemical, drugs will also be phased out. So that means what? Now the government is looking for an say that a large amount of collections of, say, indirect tax. Okay. And duty concessions on import of phone charges, transformer, etc., enable the domestic manufacturing. That is a good news. That means we are looking for say that electronic markets in India itself, rather than to rely on the import of phone and the transformers. Let me tell you, ladies, please, uh, it is quite, I will call it as for you, it is a disappointing news for you, because the reason is that the custom duty on imitation jewelry was raised to discourage their import. So now you will not able to buy imitation jewelry. Okay, yesterday I was discussing with my family. My daughter told me that, Papa, you are going to pay the money. Why should I bother? Whether they are increasing or decreasing. Okay. so, so this is going to be, say, one of the discouraging news for the, particularly say that female, that imitation jewelry was raised to discourage their importers. Otherwise, most of the ladies, they go behind the imitation jewelry in India. And duty on the specified leather and packaging boxes reduced to incentive exports. Custom duty on cut and polished diamond gems to be reduced by 5%, because the government want to increase the what do you say, gems and jewelry export. For that reason, to promote the exporters, that custom duty got reduced by 5%. Custom duty exemptions on steel scrap is being extended by an year to help the MSME. This is what the Nirmala Sitharaman said, that at the time of COVID-19, when she started giving say that so many grants, that time she said that one more exemption which is being left will be discussed in the in the budget. So this is for the MSME basically out. Custom duty on methanol is to be reduced, and levying an additional excise duty 2 rupees per liter on unblended fuel to encourage the fuel blending. So these are that means this time the government has not said much on the direct and the indirect tax, but would like to share the budget allocations with you in this sessions, to tell you that the physical deficit has been projected for India in the financial year 23 is 6.4%. And revised physical deficit is estimated at 6.9% of the GDP. And one more thing, in the Gati Shakti related investment, where the government has said that state to get rupees 1 lakh crore as 50-year interest-free loan to help the state. And the government effective capital expenditure is estimated at 10.68 lakh crore for 22-23, about, which is 4.1% of the GDP, approximately, or can say that 4 or it will be 4.1%. And the outlay for capital expenditure is to be stepped up by 35.4%. That is from 4.5 lakh crore to 7.5 lakh crore in 2022-23. what the allocation shows. What Sonia Peter has said, that the budget is for economic growth. Here where the economic growth the government is expecting. And related to, want to say that education, as Professor Vikas ji has already said, 2 lakh Anganwadi to be upgraded for improving child health. And 2 years of education's regressions for school going children means we need to double up efforts and spending to bridge the education gap. NEP has advocated 6% of GDP to be directed towards an educations. While we remain short, the announcement of the tech-based platforms, one class, one TV channel program of a PM e-Vidya for school children and establishment of a digital university where need of the hour is. Because we have learned this from the pandemic, that how the education we have developed in India in a digital platform, in a few months we have changed our systems. So this has become quite need of the hour that some university is to be digitalized. The digital university is to set up an online education focusing on ICT using a hub and a spoken model, and select ITI in all the state will offer a skill courses where the Prime Minister is been pressurizing or is just insisting the community, Indian community, to develop the skill courses. And one class, one TV channel program of PM e-Vidya will be expanded from 12 to 200 TV channels. This will enable all the state to provide a supplementary educations in a regional languages for the class 1 to 12. You remember that in NEP, this was one of the program is being designed. Now, there is also startup defense R&D to be opened for industry and startups. Startup will be promoted to facilitate drone Shakti to promote drone usage. And now coming to the next one, as Professor Vikas Gupta ji has already said, the government to promote fund for blended finance, in which the government share limited to only 20% for sunrise opportunities such as like a climate actions, agriculture techs, and agricultural modernizations, etc. This fund to be facilitated through NABARD to finance the startup for agriculture and rural enterprises relevant from the farmer produce value chain. Startup will be supported FPOs and provided tech to the farmers. Use of Kisan drones to be promoted for crop assessment, digitizations of land record, spraying of insecticides and nutrients. Let me tell you, I want to share over here that the procurement of the wheat in the Rabi season, that is in say 2021, is estimated procurement of a paddy in Kharif seasons will give a cover of 1,208 lakh metric tons of wheat and paddy from 163 lakh farmers, with a 2.37 lakh crores will be the direct payment of a MSP value to their account. This shows that the country is going for a buffer stock in the near future. A delivery of a high-tech services for farmers to be launched, MSP for the farmers to be transferred directly into a bank account, and a chemical-free natural farming is to be promoted in India. Now let us talk about an investment and the sectoral allocations. PM Development Initiative for the Northeast will be implemented for the Northeast Council. This will enable the livelihoods of your youth and the women. This scheme is not a substitute for the existing center and the state scheme. Okay. Virtual currency. RBI to introduce a digital rupee using a blockchain technology starting from 2022 and 23 years. What is there for say MSME this year? The next phase of ease of doing a business and living will be launched to support sector disproportionately affected by the pandemic. FMS announced that extension of ECLGS till March 22, and this will give you 95% of ECLGS borrowers are MSME. This measure will ensure a continued householding MSME and the service sector. The service sector, which account for more than the 60% of India's GDP, remain important engine of economic growth, job creations, income generations, and the livelihood support. The extensions of this ECLG will provide a boom to the lending MSME. Simultaneously, it will revamp certain additional incentive for the banks to extend lending under SBI Soumya Kanti Ghosh. So the government took this measure to make an MSME more resilient and competitive. The government has also said that emergency credit line guarantee scheme has helped 130 lakh MSME mitigate the worst impact of the pandemic. Now, regarding the e-vehicle and e-energy, energy efficiency and saving measures will be promoted. The battery swapping policy to be brought out with a interoperability of a standard to boost EV ecosystem. FM announces around say the 19,500 crore for allocations of solar modules. When she told about say that digital banking, there she has said that the credit growth has increased by 5.4 lakh crore this year. This may be the highest in many years. And therefore, that an online billing system will be launched to reduce the delay in payment. All central ministries will use this. First, it will be put in experiment with the central ministries. Once the digital banking becomes, say, a prominent, then it will be introduced in the public place also. Now, related to the internet connectivity, that is particularly 5G spectrum's auctions in 2022-23. Bharat Net project contract for optical fiber network will be handed over under the PPP model. and all the villages should have a same access to the digital sources as an urban area. This is what the BJP government has promised even in their manifesto, that all the villages will get the same access what the uh, urban area is getting it now. Let us see how far this internet connectivity will reach to a place where the even the phone has not reached. So how this activity will be carried out by the government is to be seen, and how far they will going to get the success is to be measured in our next budget is. And related to the defense, it has been said that 68% of the capital procurement budget in the defense will be earmarked for the domestic industry. So that means, is the government is going within a say domestic industry? Are they promoting a say domestic industries in our defense procurement? Will it be good? That is what we have to see. That's very essential. We have to look into it. Now, come on, let us go to the next one that I want to tell you about, and say e-passport, which Professor Vikas has already told you, but I want to put it in a say that in a clear manner to the people who are listening to this lecture. Issuance of an e-passport with a futuristic tech to be introduced in 2022-23. The finance minister said that India would start issuing an e-passport in 2022-23, when the first announced in 2019. There are some more feature has been proposed in this particular budget, she said. What are those being proposed? One is that the e-passport will take a few seconds to read. And this prototype has been tested in the US government identified laboratory. They are expected to have a thicker front and back cover. The back cover is expected to have a small silicon chip, and this chip will have a 64 kilobytes of memory space, and the holder's photograph fingerprints will be stored on this chip, and with a capacity to store for only for 30 visits. That means, it means on your 31st visit, you have to change your e-passport. At currently right now, it's a 10 years. So in 10 years, you may go for an say 3 times 30. Yes, that is true. That is correct. Now, let us talk about healthcare, because it's a very important one. This pandemic has brought to the fore the issue of a mental health. A national tele-mental health program will be launched. An open platform for the national digital health ecosystem will be rolled out. It will consist of an say digital registered of health providers facility, unique health identity, universal access to health facilities. Now, talking about say infrastructure, road, railways, and waterways, and the logistics. As Vikas has already spoken to this, I'm not going to say much on this particular thing. Now I'm going to go with and say housing and basic amenities. In 2022-23, 80 lakh household will be identified for the affordable household scheme. 60,000 crores allocated for providing access to tap waters to 3.8 crore households. The value of an increase in infra spent is unclear through PM Gati Shakti plan, unlike the clear 34.5% increase last year to 5.5 lakh crore. And one more, it's been said that Ken Betwa link at rupees 44,605 crore is to be taken up to provide irrigations of a 9.05 lakh hectare, 65 lakh people drinking water under hydro solar power. This is what has been said by the finance minister will be taken care in the coming budget. As far as employment is concerned, productive link incentive scheme for achieving Atmanirbhar Bharat has received an excellent response, potentially creating a 60 lakh new jobs and additional productions of 30 lakh crores during the next key cap digit 5 years. And this PLI scheme across 14 sectors has achieved a tremendous response and created a 60 lakh job opportunities. That means this budget is also looking towards the unemployment. By summing up, I will say that is why at the very beginning of my lecture I told you that it is this budget which we can say that it is in a digital and technology, because it is concentrating on all the aspects of the economic growth and the economic development of the nation, rather than it is not say a one-sided budget. It's, in other words, it is boosting, I will call it a booster to the economy. Rather than call it boosting, I'll say booster to the economy. So hope that whatever the government have promised in this budget will be completing. I will say that may complete. It's all we have to see by keeping our finger crossed and see that what is stored for us and how much India will become a say that growth nation. Finally, I would like to share one more information with you, which is a very important one. I got this information a couple of minutes before. Okay, let me tell you, India Forex Reserve has exceeded all external debts. Now India is now at net creditor. Earlier we know that the external debts was is very not acceptable to anyone. So how come this possible? Since past few years, I will say that India has become a very resilient economy and global uncertainty. Resilient economy. Okay, I can use this. While the inflation in many developing countries is nearing a double digit and above 5% in the developed country, noted only in the two countries which has caused 2% inflation in the last few decades. Do you know that India's inflation remained relatively stable at 5 to 6%? Just imagine during this pandemic I'm talking about. At the time when the foreign exchange reserve of the country like Brazil, okay, foreign exchange country like say that Brazil, South Africa, Turkey, Pakistan are depleting, India amasses a record amount of a forex in the last few years. In the ongoing fiscal year, the Indian foreign exchange reserves have been above the foreign debt. The country had throughout that year. This means that India can service all its debts in one go without impacting its macroeconomic stability. The current level of the foreign exchange reserve is not enough to cover more than 1 year of the import. The foreign exchange reserves of the country are around $634 billion, while foreign debt is around $600 billion. Just imagine. Advanced estimates suggested that the GDP recorded an expansion of 9.2% in 2021. Unlike the country like the Pakistan, Turkey, India never let its foreign debt exceed 20% of the GDP, thus maintaining a macroeconomic stability. The country is all set to soar up above 8% of an economic growth in the ongoing decade, making India as a third largest economy in the world after the United States and China by 2030. These are the predictions that's been made by the so many of the economists, which is very interesting to know that we are on the path of growth. With this note, I would like to thank you all for listening to my this lecture, and hope you all enjoyed it. Thank you very much.
I will request, sir, can you please put on your camera so that we can have one picture?
Yeah, yeah, sure.
Yeah. I can't see the photos, sir.
Yeah, I have already put on my camera.
If it's there, sir, I am not able to view it. Okay, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for this putting highlights on this budget. And I would say that government is trying to give something to every section, and government is oriented towards reform, employment, and development. And Ram sir has correctly mentioned about new provision of the revised tax return for the next 2 years. So actually, what was feared earlier, that fear has actually gone away now. And this step which the government has taken is, it has respected the honesty of the taxpayer. So this is very good. Another good thing is that for our student is that Make in India program is being promoted by us to by the government, to enable the youth of a country to take entrepreneurship. So government has already launched various schemes to promote the culture of entrepreneurship and startups in the country. So I'm sure this will lead to greater economic growth, and this budget has almost covered all the aspects of the economic growth. So, on this note, I would like to thank both the speakers, Professor Vikas Gupta and Professor A.S. Ram Narayan, for joining us on this event. I would also like to thank all the students and the faculty members for joining us for this event. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sonia, ma'am.
Thank you very
Thank,
much.
thank you, sir.